Okay, I'm live now. And so all we need is to hear Pastor Brooks. Pastor Brooks?
One more time.
Oh, Pastor Brooks? Pastor Brooks?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Matt Cummings, who is trying to make sure that we can hear you online.
Okay.
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 Are you coming to Dad's birthday party?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, great.
Of course.
Okay, I need to speak with you about, because I'm going to sing there. And I need to
Okay.
speak with you about that.
Yeah, you got our tickets already.
Oh, okay, great. That's helpful. Very helpful. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Darius.
Anytime, Sandy, you already know.
Okay, I'm trying to get a couple of things up. Okay. Okay, now I can hear something in the background with you, Darius, just so that you know. We can hear everything in the background.
Oh, that's not me.
Okay. No, it sounds like it's coming through your phone. Just something. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
anybody here but me?
Okay, no, it's not someone. It was something. So it's okay. Just whenever I hear something, I can, because he has all the sound muted in the studio.
Okay.
And it was something. So let's do that. Okay. Okay.
I can turn up Tom if you want.
Oh, please do. Please do. And if you could
Okay,
give me that
here we go.
extra minute, that would be so helpful. Thank you so much.
President by stopping the vote count. At what point are the Democrats going to say, "Hey, wait a minute here. We might have to try to stop the Supreme Court and interject to save our country"? I don't know of any other solution.
Yeah. I may be wrong on this, Lori, and I often am, but I believe.
Hey, hon, do me a
after
favor.
the
Try to
election,
get.
I don't think that you've seen any action on this. Just like I don't think
try
you're
to
gonna see
get
Trump indicted before the
Robert
election
Patillo.
because it will become so political so rapidly.
Okay.
But I believe that after the
Just
election,
call.
you're going to
Keep
see a
just trying.
concerted effort by the
Keep
Democrats
trying him because I've
to
not been
at
able to reach him.
least put term limits
Or
in
it
place
could
for the
be
Supreme
6:37,
Court.
7:30.
And, ideally, they should expand the court, but at the very least, put term
Okay.
limits in place.
And if you
We'll
could
see.
do me a
Lori, I
favor
interrupt,
and
but
reach
thank you
out
for the
to
call.
Max and let him know that I need to
I
reschedule
don't disagree
him.
with your diagnosis. Thanks so much for being with us today. We'll be back
Max
tomorrow,
Wolf.
same bat time,
Oh,
same bat
Dr.
channel. In
Wolf.
the meantime, don't forget democracy is not
I
a
appreciate
spectator
that.
sport. It
Thank you
requires
so much.
all of us, which includes you. And there's so much you can do in so many great organizations, and call up your local Democratic Party and say, how can I help? Because there is a long way. We've got a month to go here, and the billionaires are pouring cash into these things. We got to pour people power in. So get out there, get active, tag, you're in. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Be good to yourself and the people around you.
You've been listening to Tom Hartman. For audio and video archives, visit TomHartman.com.
Attention, those of you looking to go on a fun vacation and see the world on the cheap. Today, the U.S. dollar is worth even more in other countries. So there's never been a better time to travel outside the USA. The dollar is worth over $1.30 in Canadian dollars. And it's the same for Australia. You can fly there today and have fun and maximize your travel dollar. Your U.S. dollar is worth over $3 in Brazilian reals. And it's worth over $18 in Mexican pesos. Plus, in Argentina, it's That's worth over $27 in Argentine pesos. Just think of the bargains you'll get. And the way you get the cheapest airfare to any destination is by calling Tickets That Cheap. Save up to 75% on your foreign vacation tickets. Don't wait. Call now. 802-317-1979. 802-317-1979. 802-317-1979. That's 802-317.
The family meeting. I don't want to wear pants. The pants are restrictive. You shouldn't force me to have to wear pants. But I'm a confirmed nudist. Yes. I want to be butt naked. You can't force me to wear clothes. I can't get my share of vitamin D because I have these clothes covering up my skin.
That shirt.
Right.
That shirt is preventing him from health.
Right. It's restricting my freedoms. Now, how damn stupid is that?
Funding's it for. The family meeting is brought to you by Property Tax Solutions. If they can't lower your property taxes, you don't pay.
Charlie did not die from an overdose. Charlie was poisoned.
Websites and social media selling fake medicines may look legitimate, but they're not.
He died in less than 15 minutes after taking the pill.
Any medication not purchased from a licensed pharmacy could be deadly.
No other family should go through this. This is horrific.
Go to safe.pharmacy. Learn about fake medicine on social media and if an online pharmacy is safe.
Driving it home with Patty Vasquez. Weeknights from 5 to 6 p.m. on WCPT 820.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley.
The House January 6th committee wants you to watch this afternoon as it begins what is likely to be its last public hearing before the November midterm elections. The AP's Jennifer King.
A committee aide who discussed the plans says the January 6th committee will unveil surprising details, including evidence from Donald Trump's Secret Service. The committee is starting to sum up its findings. On Thursday afternoon, the public session is expected to delve into Trump's state of mind and the central role the defeated president played in the multi-part effort to overturn the election. The session draws to a close the participation of two Republican lawmakers, Liz Cheney of Wyoming and Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. They will not be returning in the new Congress. Cheney lost her primary election, and Kinzinger decided not to run.
Former President Trump is angrily calling the nation's legal system a broken disgrace after a judge ruled he must answer questions under oath next week in a defamation lawsuit lodged by a writer who says he raped her in the mid-1990s. He also called the 2019 lawsuit by E. Jean Carroll a hoax and a lie. Kamikaze drones hit the area of Kyiv, Ukraine's capital city this morning. Air raid sirens blared. Rescue workers ran toward the scene. NATO is pressing ahead with plans to hold a nuclear exercise
I'm about to go on the air with
this
my
was
show.
before Russia invaded Ukraine.
So let me take care of that,
Defense
okay?
Secretary Lloyd Austin said the U.S. will
All
do
right.
whatever it takes to protect NATO
thanks so
allies.
We are committed to defending every inch of NATO's territory if and when it comes to that.
NATO's exercise, dubbed Steadfast Noon, is held around the same time every year and runs for about 1 week. Russia is also expected to conduct its own exercise not long after the NATO one.
Americans on Social Security will learn this morning how much of an increase they'll get next year.
You've got to be
This
kidding me.
is AP
Are you serious?
News. Now to the Oath Keepers.
The jury at the Oath Keepers trial hears about a massive weapons cache. A number of the Oath Keepers who traveled to Washington before the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol has testified about a massive cache of weapons the far-right extremist group stashed in a Virginia hotel room. Terry Cummings showed jurors an AR-15 firearm and an orange box for ammunition that he contributed to a so-called quick reaction force the Oath Keepers had staged at the hotel outside Washington in case they needed weapons. That quick reaction force is a central piece of the Justice Department's case against Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes and 4 associates charged with seditious conspiracy in the January 6th attack. Defense lawyers have not denied the existence of the quick reaction teams, but noted that they were never deployed. They have accused prosecutors of falsely portraying them as an invasion force. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
And I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 Chicago traffic update.
Tri-State northbound is solid from Southwest Highway to 75th with road construction in the 3 right lanes. This is road work that should have already been picked up, but they're running a little behind. Bishop Ford inbound 115 for the Dan Ryan, seeing a delay there. No problems on DeSable Lakeshore Drive or 394. I-57 northbound from Manhattan Mooney Road to Stunkel, you're seeing stop-and-go traffic, and this is all due to ongoing road construction. On the Kennedy inbound, O'Hare to the Byrne interchange, that is going to take you right around 25 minutes. Also, the Kennedy outbound is going to take you 23 minutes out to the airport. That's traffic. I'm Julie Cronus.
The light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of this tunnel.
That light at the end of the tunnel. Your guiding light.
That light is going to get brighter and brighter.
Through another day.
I think it's a great day.
The Joan Esposito Show. Live, local, and progressive. Weekday afternoons at 2 on WCPT 820.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-323-8137. 800-323-8137. 800-323-8137. That's 800-323-8137. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home, securing
Matt, how
a
much
VA
time
loan
do we
or
have?
reverse mortgage,
Yeah, 1 minute.
Okay,
Team
thanks
Hochberg,
so
your
much.
trusted local lender. Having enough funds for closing costs is one of the biggest hurdles for home buyers. Most buyers don't know that you could secure a closing cost credit from the seller to pay your closing costs. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac allow buyers to receive up to 9%, and FHA allows buyers to receive up to 6% of the purchase price as a closing cost credit. That's why you need to work with the experienced Team Hochberg mortgage professionals who will pre-approve you to purchase a home and explain how to secure a seller's closing cost credit to cover all applicable closing costs and prepaid taxes and insurance. To learn more about the unbelievable benefits of closing cost credits, please give me a call now at 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843 or visit our website 56david.com. Lower.com equal housing lender MLS 112-4061.
All right.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Thursday. Can you believe it's Thursday already in October 13th, 2022. Coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, the Heartland Signal, if you will, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I know they had a tremendous showing last night of Vigilante on the heels of this tremendous showing that we had at Rainbow Push of Vigilante, Greg Palast, new documentary on Georgia voter suppression. They had a tremendous showing with Rick Smith, my brother here at AM 950 Radio and at WCPT. I'm going to try and get one of them on today to tell us about that. And that comes on the heels of this Atlanta Journal-Constitution headline story that said thousands of Georgia voters' eligibility has been challenged just before this election. So you see how much currency this documentary has, because what he saw could happen and that has happened is happening right now in 2022. I hope that you're registered to vote. Please check and see if you're still registered to vote. Go to vote.org, vote.org. It only takes a couple of minutes to find out if you've been purged from the rolls. You need to find out where you can vote, because of course in Chicago, more than 100 precincts alone were shut down, were closed. And so want to find out about the vote. And, I realize you have your disappointments. Look, that's the nature of politics. Politics is not for children, and it's not for the thin-skinned. It is for grown folks. It's about power. And you're seeing that in Georgia. You're seeing that in North Carolina. You're seeing it all over the country. You're seeing it here. You're seeing it here. Only the people who have money can really afford to get in this game, and that's shameful. So please, everybody, get registered. It works when you work it. The system does work, but you have to work it. We're not in a monarchy. We're in a republic, everybody. Yeah, I said it. We won the revolution over the British. So come on, let's get into it. Let's get into it as we get into the midterms. And today we're going to look at some of these key races. We're going to have State Senator Vincent Hughes, who heads up the Budget Committee in Pennsylvania. He is one of the most powerful men, one of the most powerful persons in state politics. And in fact, he's married to the dream girl. That's right, Cheryl Lee Ralph. That's right, everybody. The one who just won the Emmy. Yeah. So he's going to be on with us at 7:30 to tell us what's happening with the Fetterman campaign. A lot of people are wondering, is he healthy enough to go on? And others are saying, we can't afford for him not to win. We can't lose the U.S. Senate. Then what's happening with Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin? He's 6 points behind. What's happening with Raphael Warnock, who is in a dead heat with Herschel Walker, which means that Herschel Walker kind of has the edge. We got a lot to talk about today on the Santita Jackson Social. Let's get right to it, everybody. In Chicago, we're going to have a high just in the 50s, 54 degrees, scattered showers. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 46 degrees, cloudy. In Major League Baseball, we are in the playoff season. Who is going to win, everybody? Atlanta 3, the Phillies 0. Shut them down. Padres 5, the Dodgers 3. And the Mariners, who lead in their series 1-0, will be facing off the Astros this afternoon. In the NFL, the Chicago Bears will be facing off against the Commanders. Go Bears, everybody. January 6th, we might be seeing the last of this committee, everybody. A Texas family was sentenced together on Wednesday for storming the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021, with 2 parents getting jail time and 3 adult children given probation and some home confinement. For several months, prosecutors have strategically used video that they've collected through subpoenas, according to the CNN report, from riot participants' cell phones and online accounts, and from YouTube and media outlets in hundreds of these January 6 cases. Today at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 Central, the House Select Committee investigating this insurrection will hold its 10th public hearing, the last before the midterm elections. What will we learn? We will see. It has been exciting thus far. We're going to hear testimony from every member of the committee. Today marks the 4th consecutive day of Russian strikes targeting civilian infrastructure across Ukraine. One of Russia's strikes included a kamikaze drone attack on the Kiev region and shelling of residential buildings in the southern cities. More of that as we continue to go forward and get more reports about Ukraine. Alex Jones, a jury on Wednesday decided that Alex Jones, InfoWars Alex Jones, should pay nearly $1 billion in damages to the families of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting for his lies about the school massacre, according to the CNN report. Jones baselessly said again and again after the 2012 mass shooting, in which 26 people killed, most of them children, first graders, that the incident was staged and that the families and first responders were, quote, crisis actors. The plaintiffs throughout the trial described in poignant terms how the lies prompted harassment against them and compounded the emotional agony of losing their loved ones. Some even had their children's graves defiled. Can't make this up. The Treasury Department Inspector General is examining Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' fights carrying migrants to Martha's Vineyard, including whether the state improperly used COVID-19 relief funds to do so. More than 50,000 U.S. sites contaminated by toxic forever chemicals. But guess what, everybody? High levels of cancer-causing chemicals are found here in Illinois. Here in Illinois and in Iowa, we grow corn and soy products. Well, according to an NBC report, data show that Iowa and Illinois, known for growing corn and soy products, account for 15% of the national usage. The herbicide, this is a herbicide that's found in Roundup. It came under increasing scrutiny after the France-based International Agency for Research on Cancer, which is part of the World Health Organization, classified it as a probable human cancer carcinogen, having seen spikes in cancer in the United States and elsewhere, everybody. The poor are hardest hit as maternity care deserts grow all across the United States. Wow, those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show, So let's get to it, everybody. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. What do you think about these races in the midterm as everything's beginning to close? I mean, the races where we saw wide gaps, we said, oh, Fetterman, he's going to walk right in Pennsylvania. Oh, that's not exactly true. Warnock's got to win. No, not necessarily. These people will if you vote. They will. You can outrun the money of the oligarchy, but you're going to have to vote, everybody. And then fight with the people and fight for the people that you've elected later. As soon as they get in, but you got to fight for them. We've got the Tommies. That's right there. The Tommies reunion is out. There's so much going on. And we're going to be at Reverend Jesse Jackson's birthday party at Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church. It's going to be a musical. My father loves music. It's going to be at 7:00 on Friday at 45th and Princeton. Everybody go on over there. Get your tickets. We want to see you there. It's going to be a great event. Avery Sunshine. Of course, we're going to have Pastor Darius Brooks. It's going to be a fantastic event. You do not want to miss it. Tamron Hall is hosting along with Pastor Reginald Sharp. And what is the good news today? Pastor of Grace Central Church out there oh my goodness. You are in Westchester, Illinois, and you have people in Mercedes Benzes and Lexuses lining up to get food that you are ensuring that people get, because you are giving away food twice a week. And the hours are getting longer and longer. Very quickly, before you give us the good news, how can we get access to this food? A lot of people who are listening today need access to it. Pastor Brooks?
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Just very quickly, how can we, absolutely, very quickly, how can we get access to this food before you give us the good news?
Good morning. Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. GraceCentral.net. GraceCentral.net. Please come. We're here every Tuesday. Santita, there is a lot going on in the world. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says there is no temptation taking you or has seized you, but such is common to man, or what's simple, normal to a man. But God is faithful, or his word is faithful, and it will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, and beyond what you can bear. And he says, with this temptation will provide a way for you to get up out of there so you can bear it. I love the word of God. Everything we need is in there, from love stories to murders, for real, and will get us out of some really, literally, figuratively, real life situations. Santita, if I had to use the topic for today, my topic would be, this is common, but common ain't my story. This is common, but common ain't my story. Santita, temptation means any situation or set of circumstances in a person's life that exposes what is really inside of them or what's going on. In other words, it's really not what's going on, it's what's ever happening. Temptation exposes either there will be good results or not so good results. It also exposes one passing a test. Either way it goes, temptation in life can make you learn something from everything. When it comes to you and how you want an outcome to be, after something has taken place in our lives, that's not so good. It takes a toll on the person, particularly. This is common, but common ain't my story. Learning can be a starting point for any place in the world. Once you tap into it, you're dealing with it. And your response is, I'm not the only one dealing with this. When you're dealing with temptation, you got to often say, I ain't the only one going through this, because it'll make you feel like you're going through something all by yourself. God's word says there is a way in which something better can come out of this. You just said a second ago, politics ain't for the faint of heart. You got to be able to stand when God has put something in you against the wiles of the enemy. Because when God has shared with us that he don't lie and that we really literally trust his word, once we hide his word in our hearts, ain't no turning back. God's word placed within us, each of us, is a potential and opportunity to receive the desires of our heart. You can't just sit still. You got to fight. And though this is right, it's some good stuff that just got to saying, Santita, watch this. It takes just as much effort and energy for a bad life than it does a good life. Even with the million lead aimless lives in the prison of their own thinking. This was common, but it ain't my story. I gotta go. When you embrace God's word and allow its construction to create your thoughts and your life, you shine like a star in the night. When you choose to be a copy or common like others, you don't get over temptation. You're like the darkness of the night. By letting temptation win in your life, by being faithful to God's word, you don't let temptation win in no kind of way, shape, or form. Watch this, I'm going to close. When you don't let temptation win, you can predict your future by being aware of where you are, what's going on, and by not being controlled by temptation. Temptation makes you carry weight. It makes you worry. It makes you carry the biggest life burden. Don't be moved by an ego, ignorance, or temptation. Live God's word by your conviction.
Amen to that. I love it. I love it. I love it. And we need to be lifted up today because these are such difficult times. These are such difficult times. And we're coming into the holiday season where you see even more difficulties, Pastor. And I want to thank you for that. Just very quickly, what are you going to do for Thanksgiving and for Christmas?
Girl, we doubling up for the food for the family, for food for the food pantry. We ain't new to this. We grew to this. We true to this. We doubling and tripling up to make sure we can supply all of the things we need for Thanksgiving and Christmas. The New Year's, for some reason, they don't come. I guess they out celebrating. But Thanksgiving and Christmas is flooded. Volunteers are coming. God is faithful. Santita, God is faithful for real. But we got to really want it. You got to want it. And I want this food pantry to be successful. And people are watching our lives. People are donating something. Last week, we got in our account. They'll give us money, but the money is for the thing. So we utilize it for the food. Somebody donated $20,000 to the church saying, we've been watching you doing things and we want to help you support. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So
and that's why they need to, what is your website very quickly?
GraceCentral.net. GraceCentral.net.
Absolutely. Please, everybody, make a contribution because people are hurting out here. And many of us are too embarrassed to reveal that we're having trouble making our mortgage, paying rent, that we're living in our cars. We don't have a place to stay. And he sees these people and gives them their dignity back. And that is what we all need to do. Love you, Pastor Darius Brooks. I'll see you on Friday at Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, 7 p.m. Avery Sunshine, Tamron Hall, and so many people will be coming out to wish Reverend Jesse Jackson a happy 81st birthday, sending you much love. We've got Dr. Shanina Knighton with us today, infection preventionist, executive director of the Association for Professionals in Infection Control and Epidemiology's Research Practice Center. It's always a joy to be with you today. And you know, I am one of your followers, ardent followers in social media. Hey, Dr. Nina. Hey, Dr. Nina. I follow her everywhere. And I get every day on Instagram a nice little something that it's very succinct, that makes me aware. And something that you posted something from CNN that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will no longer maintain a country by country list of travel advisories related to COVID-19. Why is that significant?
Good morning. So it's significant because a lot of times people that travel avidly, when we're talking about, like, let's say industry, and when I specifically speak of industry, I'm talking about, like, let's say travel companies. We're also talking about airlines. They look at that information and they rely on that information to make sure that they're also sharing it with their customers. So if that information isn't there as one potential source to provide as a travel advisory, then that's a source of information that we're missing when it comes down to maintaining whether or not we should go to a certain location. So that's why that information is significant. The other piece of it is when we're talking about COVID and we're ramping up and we know that there are variants, which, of course, this is the same thing with the first dose of or first round of vaccine. There's going to be vaccines that COVID just won't kill, I guess we could say. It might prevent severity of symptoms, but there's just some that it's not going to work on. And so as we're talking about looking at a new vaccine series, to me, I just would have assumed this would be an even more critical time to want to track that data to see what the effectiveness of some of the vaccine candidates in this fall season, how they look. So my concern is us essentially having some of these items up under emergency use authorization, whereas there are some that are approved, but they were approved for old versions of COVID-19. And so I would just assume that for our knowledge that we would be able to understand not only how things are working here, but other places. And it's not that the tracking is going to stop. It's just that the reporting to the public is going to stop. And I feel like just like they're aware of the information to make decisions, it provides a level of transparency for others to be able to know as well.
Well, you also posted something about preventing, not just preventing getting COVID, but getting the flu. I've got about 3 minutes left. They belong to you.
So I just want to tell people that there is a such thing, and I've talked about this now for a couple of years, the fact that the flu or influenza and COVID are not the same thing, meaning that it's possible for you to end up sick with both at the same time. So with that being said, I continue to emphasize that you want to make sure that you are practicing safety against both. So it means, for example, one of the terms that's been coined has been flurona for people that get coronavirus and get flu.
At the same time.
And it started to show up. Yeah, and it started to show up heavy in Israel. So there are reports, of course, they're media reports, so it's not to say I take them with a grain of salt, but it's a source, right? That there is a prediction that this winter is going to have an increase in those types of cases of where you will have flu that is coupled with coronavirus. The problem that I have is that when we look at the CDC data that was out last year and the year before, when they were looking at the COVID deaths that were reported, a co-infection that was reported that resulted in death was coronavirus and pneumonia. So now let's imagine coronavirus, pneumonia, and influenza having a party. So I just want us to be conscious about the fact that there are those possibilities in regards to cocktails. That's why I continue to emphasize, no, people don't like wearing masks. I'm going to tell you this, regardless of whatever the mask policies say in hospitals, it's our right to wear a mask, and I'm going to wear a mask in a hospital. I remind people don't go to the hospital because they're healthy most of the time. They go to the hospital because they're ill, because we do have such a reactive system. So with understanding that, it's just not a time to be going inside of a healthcare setting without a mask or without preventative armor is what I call it. So that's including hand hygiene, distancing, being conscious of what you touch, and masking properly with hand hygiene. It's like those are protective measures. And so to go inside of a hospital, I'm not going inside of a healthcare facility without practicing those behaviors.
Well, just very quickly, if you feel that you've got the flu, should you also take a COVID test? I mean, are you saying that whenever you're feeling a little out of sorts, you should test yourself for COVID as well?
So that's the thing. let's say we went back to early 2020 Santita and we had no test. We have to normalize that being sick and feeling sick is sick. And if you are sick, then the goal should be for you to not spread that illness to anybody else. It should not take a test to tell you whether or not you want to be around somebody else. So that's one thing. I understand that individuals may not necessarily have the privilege, but there is a such thing called, sick presence. Sick presence is showing up because you can't be absent because you don't have time off, you don't have sick leave and other measures, so you have no choice but to show up to work sick. And unfortunately, that is the problem, and it's a legislative problem, I believe. So if we think about like just the whole political season, that's something that we need to be raising on leaders' radar. How do we get legislation in place to where we can stop normalizing for people to go to work sick? Is it the fact that maybe we should have more sick days in the winter? Maybe there should be more of a flexible infrastructure set up for work. Understanding that every essential worker, the ones that are most important, have the least amount of benefits. So how do we set to be able to support those individuals? So we need a lot of work in those areas, but right now that is the big problem is that individuals have normalized they're showing a place to sick. And I fear we haven't learned anything that we needed to learn in that regard.
Everybody go to Hey Dr. Nina, Hey Dr. Nina, so you can get some wonderful health tips. This is not about being paranoid, it's about being hypervigilant. You don't want flu and coronavirus. Wow. Let's talk about these elections. What is happening in Georgia? For those of us who saw Vigilante the other night, guess what? They are now purging people from the rolls as we speak. People are having their eligibility to vote challenged right now. That's a headline in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show, midterms 2022. In just a minute.
There's new information, explosive new information.
It's how every day starts.
Need for information.
Get the info you need from Santita Jackson. Weekday mornings starting at 6 on WCPT 820. The Takedown with Cliff Schechter.
So you may or may not know that Jim Jordan was a wrestler in college. He's an Olympian, though, and looking the other way from anything important. As you may know from his days at Ohio State, which we don't have the time to get into here, but George Clooney has a whole documentary coming out this month.
All right, everybody, call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. What do you have? Do you know if you're still on the voter rolls? You need to find out. You just might not be. But if you are in Georgia in particular, people are having their eligibility challenged. That we just saw it in the movie the other night in Chicago. They just saw it last night in Minneapolis, St. Paul. They just saw it in Atlanta last week. It's going to be in Milwaukee on October 22nd. Greg Palast is trying his darndest to get the word out so that we can be vigilant. Because guess what? You're having voter suppression in Wisconsin. In these so-called, purplish states, kind of liberal in some places, very conservative in others. This is a very real thing. Are you still registered to vote? Go to vote.org, and find out if you've been purged from the rolls. That is a national number. Just go to, a national website. Go to vote.org. Vote.org. And if you're having trouble as you are voting early, call 1-800 1-866 our vote 1-866 our vote OURVOTE. You don't want to miss the opportunity to get out here and vote, everybody. So please take care of yourselves and take care of the country. Let's get ready and get voting. Everybody vote. And if you have trouble while you're at the polling site, do not leave. Whatever you do, don't leave. And whatever you do, don't vote. Use those provincial votes. Don't do that. Just provisional votes. Don't do that. I misspoke. Provisional vote. No, I go in the booth. They tried to pull that one on me. I said, no, you're not going to throw my vote away. After you told me that I voted already. Oh, I'm not over that yet. Oh, and I'll never get over it. And I hope I don't. So call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. I want to hear your thoughts about voting right now, but we're going to have our callers up in a hot second. Matt and I are becoming a thing. Matt Cummings, operations manager at this station. He's done so many great things in media. He's with me this morning, sending much love to my Madam Board Operator. She's a little under the weather today, but she's going to come on back. She's going to be doing much better soon. So, everybody, call us at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that the Democrats are going to be able to hold on to the U.S. Senate? Do you think they'll be able to hold on to the House? What about these governorships? What about John Fetterman? We're going to be talking with Pennsylvania State Senator Vincent Hughes about what's happening in Pennsylvania. Of course, we'll be talking with Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor about what's happening in Wisconsin and around. And of course, Darrell Jones will be talking with us as well. Do we have everybody up, Matt? This is a whole lot for one person to do.
So far, Attorney Jones is up working on Senator Taylor.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, and Chaparral. So we need to do that quick thing with her.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. Oh, yes, we can. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am green.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota in Chicago and Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all around the country. Please join my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and Santita Jackson and Friends, Santita Jackson and Friends. Want to hear from you today, everybody. What do you think about these races? These races all around the country, be they on the federal or state or even local levels, are tightening up. We don't know who's going to have control of the U.S. Senate, because we don't know how the vote's going to go in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, in Wisconsin, in Kentucky. It's very interesting to me. In Georgia, it's very interesting to me. You've got these incredibly competitive races, and you see the Republicans pouring all of these resources into these races. They're doing everything they can to make sure that Raphael Warnock does not win this race. They are pushing Herschel Walker. With all of his challenges, they're pushing him. I don't see a lot of energy behind Mandela Barnes from the National Party, and they have the power to pour the resources. We need to have President Obama and First Lady Obama in there. It would mean so much. It would inspire people. You know, we need Kamala Harris, the vice president. We need Senator Cory Booker. We need the squad. I mean, different people have different appeals. Where are they? What's going on, everybody? I've got to get out the vote. What's not happening? What is happening? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. I think we have Chaparral up for her to talk about celebrations by us. Chaparral, are you there?
No Chaparral.
Okay, well, Chaparral, call on in so we can hear from you today. It will take you before the hour is up. But Attorney Darrell Jones, how you doing, Attorney Jones?
Good morning, Santita. Doing great, thank you.
You know,
a little rainy here, but we're on the road.
Now, where are you today?
So today we will be in Philadelphia. We're leaving Pittsburgh, heading to Philadelphia.
Well, you know, I did. State Senator Vincent Hughes, he's going to be on the show at 7:30. He told me that you are, that he's going to see you today. So good up on that. And of course, Senator Vincent Hughes, aside from being this very, very powerful, one of those powerful figures in all of Pennsylvania state politics, he's also married to our dream girl who just won the Emmy. That's right, Cheryl Lee Ralph. They've been together for decades, and they're just a wonderful, wonderful couple. Well, let's get right to it. Many of us have experienced, not enough of us have experienced this wonderful documentary by Greg Palast, Vigilante. And it really takes us into voter suppression. And more than that, it takes us into the history of Brian Kemp, the man who is Secretary of State, who was running against Stacey Abrams. He purged hundreds of thousands of her voters from the rolls, and she lost by fewer than 100,000 votes, like about 50,000 or something. It was a tighter than this race. No one knew that. Did you know that at the founding of the country, Georgia was a free territory? Slavery was not allowed everywhere in the United States, including in the South. And the first family to bring slavery to Georgia, the family that ended freedom in Georgia, was Brian Kemp's family. They are a very wealthy landholding family, slaveholding family. Yeah, that's right. They introduced slavery into Georgia. That's not hyperbole, that's history. So I think we need to think about that. But this is one of the headlines today. Let's start here. Attorney Darrell Jones, thousands of Georgia voters, that's why I brought this up, eligibility is challenged before the election. This is from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. While working for the U.S. Navy in California, Gamaliel, who we saw in this movie, Turner, learned that his right to vote in Georgia had been challenged by the chairman of his home county's Republican Party. And guess what? He was still a Georgia homeowner, taxpayer, and an eligible voter. This year, the eligibility of tens of thousands more voters has been contested under a provision of last year's election law that allows any resident to challenge the qualifications of an unlimited number of voters within their county. He said, quote, "I'm just regular people. I'm paying my taxes. I haven't even changed my driver's license. Everything about me is Georgia." Now, he's a retired major, a military contractor who was able to vote after a judge prohibited the county from upholding these challenges. He said this angers him, this hurts him. They're challenging voters, Darrell Jones, as we speak in Georgia. People, and if you do not go to vote.org and find out whether you are still on the rolls, you might go to vote on that day and you're not on the rolls. What does it mean to have your eligibility challenged, and what can you do about it?
Oh my goodness, Santita. To have your eligibility challenged is in essence to have your citizenship challenged. And I tell you, the most basic right that we say we have as an American citizen is that right to vote. And so when you have anybody that can just come up and challenge at the polls whether or not you can legitimately vote, that is one of the most fundamental challenges that anyone can bring, and the most offensive challenge, quite honestly, that anyone can bring to a person. And I mean, to be forced in certain situations that if you want to vote at that point in time, you may have to cast a provisional ballot until they can prove that, that you are eligible to vote, that you live where you say you live, and everything else, and all the other qualifications. So, it's one of the steps that's being taken, and you're absolutely correct when you lay out what former Governor Kemp had done in making it more difficult for people to vote. And you got to remember that the folks that they're concentrating on these challenges, because it is an orchestrated effort. This is not a coordinated effort. This is not something that, that's just sort of a pie in the sky. I don't think this person has the eligibility to vote. This is coordinated. They're looking for black and brown people to bring these challenges against them. In fact, in Georgia in 2020, there were individuals that were challenging those that had Spanish surnames. That's what their criteria was, whether or not they're going to challenge them and trying to stop them from being able to vote. And the whole thing is this. You got to remember that, the battle that's going on there is not necessarily to prevent them from voting completely, because if a person can go and get whatever identification, they can go through the process and they'll be able to vote. The process is to make it frustrating for them, to make it difficult for them, to make them go through more hoops to be able to vote. And the hoops is that by frustrating them and making it more difficult for them to being able to vote, that they'll simply say, "I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to bother with this. This is too much," and walk away from the polls and not return. It may be a situation where someone's trying to get to work, And because they're trying to get to work or trying to get to daycare or trying to get to school or whatever it may be, that they don't have time to sit there and deal with the challenge. Well, the challenger then has been successful because their intent was to block you from being able to easily access the ability to vote and to make it more difficult. So this is, what is going on and what's being faced in Georgia at this point in time, Cynthia. And, it's a frustrating piece, but it's a part that's there. One of the things that people should do before they go to vote, you just have to plan it out. And you have to plan out when you're going to vote, how you're going to vote, and then you need to execute it. Vote the plan that you've put together. We always encourage people to go to vote.org and be certain that you know that you're not removed from the voter rolls, and also that you know where it is that you're supposed to go and vote. More importantly, if you have the ability to vote early, because if there's any issues that come up, you have the ability to then correct them.
Hold on.
Huge.
Well, no, hold on, because if you find out, if you get to, because see, this is what I want to get to. If you get to the poll and you're told that your name is not there, what should you then do?
There are a couple of things you can do. If your area has same-day registration, you can register right there and go ahead and vote. If the area does not have same-day registration where you can just register and go ahead and vote, then what you need to do, number one, is to call 866-OUR-VOTE. Let them know what's going on, 866-OUR-VOTE. And we have attorneys and folks that will walk you through the process as to what to do so that you can exercise your right to vote. That's the most important thing to do, is don't leave the polling place before you have a resolution, a plan as to how you'll be able to exercise that right to vote.
So you should not leave the polling place.
No, do not leave without knowing what you're going to do, how you're going to be able to vote. And it's either talking to the election judge that's there, and if they have the same day registration, they should walk you through, get you registered, and allow you to vote. If they don't have same day registration and it's early voting, then you want to call 866-OUR-VOTE, get your plan together, understand what to do, and then you can go ahead and proceed from that point forward.
Call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Do you have a plan to vote? Are you still registered to vote? Please go to vote.org and find this out. These races are closing up. They're closing up. Can you tell me why, in your estimation, I just keep coming across all these stories, Warnock and Walker are virtually in a dead heat, which, quite honestly favors the challenger, right? The champion, you have to knock them out. I mean, I am not Debbie Downer. I'm just looking at real politics. You have to come in, and you have to come in with a whole lot of enthusiasm. On both sides. He has a lot of enthusiasm on his side. And I think that, there's a lot of enthusiasm on Raphael Warnock's side. What disturbs me about his race and Stacey Abrams' race is that they're not polling 90% or plus with the Black community. And we have learned through Reverend Jackson's campaigns and just his involvement in politics that as a Black candidate, you must first, I don't care how much crossover appeal you have, Daryl, you must have an extremely excited Black community on your side. And then you can add everybody else, Daryl. But first, your home folks have to be extremely excited about you, voting for you well north of 90%. That's just the reality. That's what propelled President Obama into the White House. That's what propelled Reverend Jackson to the top of political power in America. Just the numbers. That's what has to happen. You can't be in the 80s. And I was speaking to a few people who said, in 2018, when Stacey Abrams was first running, and this was not in Georgia, this was here in Chicago, people were going door to door, campaigning for her. And they said, I don't see that this time. So what is going on in this race, particularly in the Raphael Warnock race? Let's just take it one at a time. Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, with all of these hits, he's holding steady. He's holding strong, which, that gives him some legs. I'm not saying he's a strong guy, but the forces around him are holding him up, Daryl.
Right. And you're absolutely right. One of the things people have to, I think, take into consideration is the baseline in Georgia. And when I say the baseline in Georgia, when you walk back to the 2020 election, the baseline in Georgia was that, Georgia is known as a very red Republican state. That's their baseline. It really is their baseline. So what then happens with Senator Warnock in 2020 is that they overcome that baseline because there were a lot of issues that were existing with regards to former President Trump in Georgia and the fights that were going on internally within their party. And so, Senator Warnock was able to take advantage of those fights that were going on within the party and in unifying, the Democratic Party that was there in Georgia. But not only that, they were able to excite the young voters that were there. They got to remember they had an incredible increase in young voter turnout in Georgia in that 2020 election, and that was a presidential year. So we had a lot that was going on in that year, and a lot of attention that was then being focused on that, and a lot of that momentum Senator Warnock was able to tap into, and the young voters, the African American voters, all of that, the voters of color really came out in numbers during that pandemic and carried the way for him. But it was understood at that point that the 2-year term that he was that he's elected to fulfill, that his reelection was going to be a challenge because of that baseline that I spoke of earlier. And I think that what you see now, and when I speak of that baseline, one of the things that you give credit to certainly Republican Party is that they stick with their own. Whatever the dog is in the fight, there's the old Gene Kirkpatrick statement that I won't use because you'll be censored, but it may be a dog, but it's our dog. And that's one of the mantras that they really do stick with. And I think that's what we see coming to fruition now is that they're sticking with that mantra. He may be a dog, but he's our dog, and we're trying to get control of the U.S. Senate. And, as bad as he may be, don't worry about that. He'll be one of us. He'll be one of our votes. And we'll be able to control things. So that's a large part of what I think you see happening down in Georgia. Now, the question becomes, because you're in the midterm election, we know that's usually more of a down year for voter turnout, a lower voter turnout during the midterm elections. That's a part of what I think is happening with the African American community there, is that they're no different than the larger community, is that the turnout is slightly suppressed because of the midterm piece to it. Now, him getting not above the 90%, that's problematic, and I can't put a complete finger on it. I would think that a large part of it may have to do with the appeal of Herschel Walker from being a football star.
Also, it's disappointment.
People seeing the star quality.
I think we have to be honest. Voting rights, all the things that many Black leaders in the community have been calling for, that they have not gotten. People get disappointed and they become angry, not just depressed, Daryl. They become angry and they say, I can show you better than I can tell you. I'm not going to show up. I mean, all the data is showing that the black vote has lost enthusiasm. Those who are going to vote overwhelmingly for the Democrats. But the problem is you're losing people who will vote. And people call me all the time and say, you're not pushing people enough to vote. I said, no, you're not listening to people. You're not listening to people. And therefore, they don't vote. And because you don't listen to them and you don't respond, if you don't listen to them, that means you're not responding to them, Daryl. And we have Attorney Aaron Connolly with us. And if you're not responding to them, guess what? This is how they're going to respond to you, Daryl. We got to get out of the Beltway, and we've got to get out of middle class thinking and upper class thinking, and look at where people on the ground are. People on the ground are hurting, Daryl and Aaron. I mean, they are not eating. They're closing our public schools. They cannot afford to go to the hospital, even with ACA. There's a lot of pain out here and people being blocked from voting. You sit in the line for hours. No one can give you a glass of a cup of water. Are you for real? And then they're challenging your eligibility. You get flooded out in Florida. You don't have internet. You don't have a computer. They don't even get on a megaphone and drive a truck through the neighborhood to tell you to leave. Are you serious? Then you got Val Demings, you got Mandela Barnes, you got Charles Booker, you've got Sherry Beasley. You've got these great Black candidates who are not getting the lift from the party or from corporate media. For real? I'm just putting it right there. Right there. If you have cancer, Daryl and Attorney Connolly, Aaron, you don't give people cold medicine. You got to give them chemo. Boom. I'm just saying. Because I'm not a creature of DC. I live in Chicago and I go everywhere else. And I hear all the pundits in Washington. I hear them running their mouths and I just go, oh gosh. And I even hear many people who are my friends who are in the party and who I'm like, what are you talking about? Clearly you have forgotten where you came from. You think you can win an election from DC? Get on away from here. That's not how this is done. That's why you got a rich man walking around here talking like a poor man, also known as Donald Trump. He's a marketing genius now. He understands folks. Say whatever you want to. What are we going to do? Aaron Connolly. Got a couple of minutes before we go to break. Yeah, I just went off everybody. But Daryl, I can't help it. Because I'm watching some great candidates. If they got a little bit of push from the hood to the holler, Charles Booker, Mandela Barnes, they're not getting any push. Sherry Beasley was begging for money and attention 2 weeks ago. I just saw her on MSNBC this morning. We don't even have a month left in the race. Aaron.
Good morning, Santita. Good morning, Attorney Daryl Jones. Thank you both for teeing up this conversation with such urgency. I think as we enter there's less than 30 days until this election. And while I'm grateful that MSNBC is having Justice Beasley on, we needed, a few more $1 million into her race and these other races you discussed a lot earlier. And we can't just wait till the end. I think the thing about all of these races is we look at these communities and we look at the concerns that people have, right? We have student loan repayments starting in January. This is going to be an extremely stressful time for this country, especially young people who bear the largest burden and share of student loan debt. If we break it down further, it is women and minorities that have the biggest share of student loan debt. Those families are going to be stressed. When we look at our healthcare system, many people are able to be on the Obamacare exchanges now. The problem is many hospitals and doctors do not accept these plans. So people are still paying large sums out of pocket for medical expenses. Those are two big ballooning payments that are coming up on top of a situation where gas prices are rising. So while we saw a turn for the Democrats and some hopeful numbers, we're seeing some of these folks struggle now. My hope, and what I hope to see in some of the polling data, is that given the surge in new voters, what we see in new voter registrations, which are mostly women, mostly progressive people who maybe haven't ever voted before, these people are not contacted by pollsters. These are new voters that are not tried and tested, right? So we may be able to have some wins in these areas where we have newer voters coming in and we can't predict what they do. That's a hopeful piece of this. But what we have to do for those new voters is actually deliver more than we're giving them. And we've talked about this over and over. This is the most important election of our time, as everything is. Every cycle is, right? We have more at stake every single election.
Every single cycle.
But we cannot tell these new voters that that this election is going to solve all of these problems. This is just the start of a courtship in democracy with these new voters, right? This is the first step. This is the first date. This is this is not the end. This is not the solution. We have to keep going. We have to keep building, and we can't shame people into the process.
Thank
right?
you for
and
that.
Daryl knows this on the ground. We cannot judge these people for not voting last time. You're here now. Welcome to the party. We need you here. We want you
That's
here.
right.
How can
That's
we
right.
listen to you?
You know, because wait a minute, because I'm going to tell you, I'm tired of hearing Attorney Aaron Connolly, Attorney Daryl Jones, the Black community shamed about voting. You didn't vote enough. Get out of here. Black folks over-index in the voting, particularly Black women. We do. We vote. And stop shaming Black men in Georgia. Their needs are not getting met. Meet the needs. Don't use them as the reason that Democrats might not win. That's not, because it's not true. Because Black folks keep coming through for the Democratic Party. I want to know what you're going to do. You need to come through for me. And that's what you're beginning to hear. So just get real with it. People have real needs. People are starving out here. People can't feed their children. People are living in their cars. People are hurting out here. When you say, oh, there's no recession, there's a recession. It's just because you have a job. It's because you have health insurance. That you're not really feeling it. People are hurting out here. And people need to stop playing cute. People getting there, and they're losing their access to the vote on top of it all. And then all you got to tell me is if Black folks would only, oh no, Black folks would come through the Democrats, they need to come through for me. How about that? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. All right. So let me try and reach her myself. Okay, pardon me, Daryl. You know, I get mad when I think about this, because I've been hearing this forever, Daryl. You know, all the things that Black folks need to do, all that we're not doing, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm tired of hearing that garbage. I'm tired of it. And it's a very DC conversation. It's very DC. It's very elite. It's very, I'm going to be on CNN or MSNBC. I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be on the BBC, and I'm going to talk about, you know, it's like, get enough of that already. DC is one of the wealthiest communities in the country. All you have to do is go through DC. Most people who say they're from DC can't afford to live in DC. DC is very expensive. But even the counties that surround DC, the closer you get to DC, it costs a lot of money. Because guess what? The Pentagon is there. The military industrial complex is centered there. And you see the money that is poured into DC. Go to DC. It is pristine and lovely and fabulous. And it's an expensive town. The first place I paid for $1 for a Coca-Cola in 1976. I was shocked. Yes, I broke my voice intentionally. Like, oh. But DC's an expensive place because power is there. It's money. And money follows power. I just think we need to be honest about that, just really. But, you know, let us look at Ron Johnson, who's widening his lead over Mandela Barnes. Same thing. This Georgia Senate race is remaining unchanged. And we're going to have Senator Vincent Hughes from Pennsylvania at the bottom of the hour. Okay. So are you all still there? Ooh.
Still here.
Okay,
Still here.
great. You all talk to because I'm looking at some other stuff. Talk to Facebook Live, because you know I've got to wrap my mind around a couple of other things. Okay. So what do you all think?
How is the bus tour going?
I
asked Daryl how the bus tour is going.
You know, it's going great. We were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on, I think it was Sunday. And you know, I tell you, you know, the response, we had a voter queue that was over 6 blocks long, and people just coming from everywhere to pay attention to see what was going on. You have these huge buses going through the streets of Milwaukee with John Lewis figure on them, and Make Good Trouble Vote, and the Black Voters Matter bus that was there. And so and then you had just blocks and blocks of vehicles with the Protect Our Vote placards on the cars and the horns blowing, and it's just really great to see the people coming out, see the excitement, them raising the fist in the air, pumping their fist in the air, saying, "I'm going to vote. We're there. We're going to do this. We're getting out." That's a large part of the enthusiasm that I think we're trying to bring across to all of these states that we're visiting, and the people are responding, and hopefully they'll continue to respond. I know that Senator Hughes is going to be on today with us. And we're going to be in Senator Hughes' home, right, in Philadelphia. And we'll be doing votercading and as well as Celebration Village there. So we're hoping that the response continues to be positive, and that it catches fire as we go into the closing weeks of this election.
I think it can be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not Debbie Downer, but it's like I'm begging. See, the reason Reverend was able to recapture the Senate in '86 at the height of the Reagan Revolution is because he spoke to the needs of the people. That's the only reason you got a Dick Shelby out of Alabama, who became a Republican afterwards, but he won as a Democrat. The Democrats were able to recapture the Senate on Reverend Jackson's watch. We've had a black president, black first lady. We have black folks in the U.S. Senate, things that we couldn't even fathom 40 years ago. We have everything that Reverend led us to and fought for, and we have less. Daryl, Aaron, hello, what's up?
Well, I think we are very quick to pivot back to this establishment middle ground when we make these wins, right? I think people see elections sometimes as the goal. We want to win the election, right? We hear the rhetoric that this is the election, this is going to solve all the problems. And what we see is a disengagement from many people from the actual movement, right? And as organizers, as everyone on this panel has been and is an organizer, we know that that's not the end of the fight. What we need to see is to keep that pressure up on these issues that matter to us, because these folks, as you said, Santita, go back to the D.C. bubble or the state capitol bubble, and unless they're hearing from us, they forget. They forget who got them there. And then we have a situation like Kirsten Sinema, who decides that Mitch McConnell is a better friend than the people of Arizona who elected her. And she is going to have a rough time next time. But she's still in power for 6 years, right? So we have to take this part of democracy seriously after the election. We can't just go back to our lives and expect these people to keep our issues at top of mind. They're getting flooded by lobbyists and influence and all kinds of things, right? We have to show up when the election's over as well, and not just show up every 2 or 4 or 6 years in the case of Senate races, right? So I know a lot of your listeners take that seriously and don't just give up once the election's over. But there is this horse race mentality that we see on cable news, corporate media, that we see that break it down to just this win or lose scenario, and that we're kind of done after that happens. That's not the case. We have to keep organizing after that and keep people engaged. And that's why groups like the Transformers
Stand by.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. I want to know where you stand. Midterms 2022. Are you planning to vote? Are you registered to vote? Do you know if you've been purged from the voter rolls? I'm Santita Jackson from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to meet my morning stars over here on the Santita Jackson Show, Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and on Santita Jackson and Friends. We're going to have State Senator Vincent Hughes from Pennsylvania with us at the bottom of the hour to talk to us about what's happening with the Fetterman race. Many people are fretting about his health. He had a stroke several months ago, and it's been a struggle. Having a stroke is no easy thing. Trying to come back from it, and I have so much admiration and respect for him for staying in the game, because he said, "No, I pledged to the people of Pennsylvania that I was going to run for you," and he, even as he is fighting to get well, to get better every day, he is out here running. But people are wondering, should I vote for him? That race has tightened up. We're going to talk about that with Senator Vincent Hughes from Pennsylvania. And of course, we have Attorney Aaron Connolly on with us and Attorney Darrell Jones. Attorney Darrell Jones is the chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. They are on a votercade ride. He's going to tell us about that in a hot second. And Attorney Aaron Connolly, brilliant political pundit and strategist. Let's talk about this today. I want you to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. What do you think about the Warnock race? Do you think that that he has enough strength to push back against this surge? Because that's really what it is, from Herschel Walker. What do you think about that? What about Sherry Beasley? No one's talking about her, but she, only 1 point separates her from the Trump-backed candidate in North Carolina. Now, mind you, this woman was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the state of North Carolina. And she was begging for money and attention from the Democratic National Committee just 2 weeks ago. Charles Booker, have we heard about him? Hello, hello, hello. From the hood to the holler. What about Mandela Barnes? Now the gulf between the separation between him and Ron Johnson is widening. There's a 6-point lead. What's going on? What's going on? Where are the big Democrats pushing these candidates who are within striking distance of winning? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Let's get to some of these headlines on the Santita Jackson Show in Chicago. It's going to be a chilly day today. Very autumnal, but that's what time of year it is. It is the fall. Chicago, a high 54 degrees, scattered storms. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 46 degrees and cloudy. Major League Baseball, we are in the throes of the playoff season. Yes, yes, yes. Atlanta shut out the Phillies 3-0 yesterday. The Padres 5-3 over the Dodgers. They are both tied in their series, and of course the Mariners will be facing off against the Astros today. The Mariners 1-0 in that series. In the NFL, the Commanders will be playing against our Bears. Yay! Yay! Go Bears! Please, Bears. Win, Bears. A Texas family was sentenced together on Wednesday for storming the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, with 2 parents getting jail time and 3 adult children getting probation and some home confinement. Today at 12 noon Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riot will hold its 10th public hearing, the last before the midterm elections. Since the committee's prior hearing in July, authorities have ramped up various probes and searched former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence to investigate his apparent mishandling of sensitive documents. Today marks the 4th consecutive day of Russian strikes targeting civilian infrastructure across Ukraine. A jury on Wednesday decided that conspiracy theorist, the owner of InfoWars, Alex Jones, should pay nearly $1 billion with a B dollars in damages to the family of Sandy Hook Elementary shooting victims for his tales about the school massacre. He baselessly said again and again after the 2012 mass shooting in which 26 people were killed the day before Christmas vacation. He said that the incident was staged and the families and first responders were crisis actors, which led many people who believed Alex Jones to defile the graves of the children, to chase the parents, to harass the parents. It's been a horrific time for them, everybody. The Treasury Department's Inspector General is examining Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' flights carrying migrants to Martha's Vineyard, including whether the state improperly used COVID-19 relief funds to transfer these migrants. More than 50,000 U.S. sites are contaminated by toxic forever chemicals. But in Illinois and Iowa, we better watch out. High levels of potentially cancer-causing chemicals are sprayed on produce that we produce here in Iowa and Illinois. We are known for growing corn and soybean products. They account for 15% of the national usage, everybody. Several counties in the Chicago area have levels among the highest of this toxic chemical that's found in Roundup in the country, everybody. Wow, everybody. we have got some problems here. And those are some of the headlines. You know, we have been looking for financial freedom, really pushing for that, because we want you to know that even though you're struggling, there's a way for you to get your head above water. Do you use a debit card? Well, shouldn't use that. You should use a credit card. But you say, I don't have enough credit for that. Well, Team Hochberg can help you. Do you want to buy a house? You say, I don't have enough credit. Well, Team Hochberg can help you to formulate a plan that will get you on the road to getting good credit so that you can get a house. If you need to refinance your existing home, if you need to get a loan, if you need to get a reverse mortgage or find out about them, if you need to understand what these financial products are, and most of us are without a clue. I know I am. Call Team Hochberg and they will help you. Call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com. Do you have a bankruptcy? Do you have excessive credit card debt? Well, Tom and Sonia did. 2 kids struggling to pay their 6% mortgage and minimum payments on 17 credit cards. You know, once you get one, you can get a whole lot of them. And they had $100,000 worth of credit card debt. So they called Team Hochberg and they sat down for a free consultation. Team Hochberg returned to them and said, okay, this is how we're going to negotiate with these credit card companies. We're going to bring down your debt. We're going to pay off these credit cards, all 17 of them. And they reduced their monthly payments by over $2,800. And they were able to secure an FHA loan, which they were not able to secure before. That could be you, everybody. Call them, or just visit 56david.com, but call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID. If you call them, tell them everything. They've heard it all, and they will come up with a plan to get you above water financially. I promise you, Team Hochberg will not disappoint. Everybody, let's talk about these races. What is going on, everybody? What's going on with the elections, the midterms? We were just watching Vigilante, of course, the incredible documentary by Greg Palast, in which he was showing us how so many people have had their vote, their eligibility to vote challenged. Well, now that's happening once again in Georgia. So they are still actively kicking people off of the voter rolls. What do you think about that, everybody? What about you? I mean, is it happening to you? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. We've got attorney Darrell Jones. He's on a votercade with attorney Robert Arnwine, the Transformative Justice Coalition, Black Voters Matter, Rainbow Push Coalition, getting people inspired and informing them about how to vote. And of course, brilliant pundit and political organizer and consultant, attorney Aaron Connolly. You know, with your permission, gentlemen and gentle lady, I'm going to go to a couple of these callers. Flora from Virginia, how you doing, Miss Flora? How are you?
Good morning, Santita. Happy birthday to the Reverend.
Oh, that's so sweet.
God bless your family, and congratulations to your brother Jonathan. I just wanted to say, Democrats are too intellectual, like you said, and I agree with everything you said. They're too giving to the Republicans. I think they should meet the Republicans with the same energy, match their energy, find more road candidates, because the Republicans are coming out with people like Herschel Walker. Mm-hmm. And Herschel Walker is not going to be able to do anything of substance. He will be someone who is just a puppet.
Oh, he'll do something of substance, Miss Flora. Oh, he's going to do a lot of damage.
He's going to do some damage.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's going to do some damage. When I say substance, I'm looking for something with positive energy.
Oh, yeah, no, they don't want that. They don't even want that in their own, the people they choose. Stay right there, Miss Flora, because you know what I think? I think we don't need rogue candidates. They need to stand behind a Charles Booker who had 5% name recognition in the state of Kentucky, who went from that to almost being the Democratic nominee. But Chuck Schumer stepped in and picked an established candidate and lost. Yeah. Where is his support? Why doesn't he fly to Kentucky and support him? Where are the Obamas? Where's Cory Booker? Where's the squad? Different people have different appeals. Why is Sherry
I think the
Beasley, the
Democrats-
former head of the state Supreme Court of North Carolina, why is she begging for money and attention from the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I think they just act. To me, they act like they're working for the Republicans, and they don't really care if their candidate really wins. They just want to see what happens, because I think all of them are pretty much corporatists anyway. And if they are, then why would they even care about what the little people think? Because, in my community, they throw picnics a month before the elections. And the candidates come out, and they don't come back again. They don't tell people how they can do better, how they can get things to make their lives better in their local community, because they're too busy taking advantage of them. This is what's going on. We have people on both sides taking advantage of people who are trying to just live in this world. And when you have that, you're going to get a lot of people who don't care about who wins.
But you know what, Ms. Flora?
Want to stay the same.
I think that you're right, but the problem is we have to care who wins. Even when people don't want you at the party, it's still your party. And they only win when we vote. So you know what we have to do? We can't ask them for permission. We have to make them do it. See, we have won when we've had forceful leadership who we sent. See, the problem is today we don't have forceful leadership because we have leadership that's been presented to us, not leadership that we sent. Because the people we send fight like bulldogs and we win with them. We win with Dr. King. We win with Jesse Jackson. I'm just trying to, what are we winning now? And the thing is, whoever we have now, well, we got to push these people who are already in power to do what we sent them there to do. Got to push them.
But we're going to have to change some policies. That's only going to come with a policy change, and it's going to have to be national. It's going to have to be making sure that elections are the same in every state.
Absolutely.
It's going to have to be that, because it's biased right now. You can do one thing in one state, because I've lived in other states. You can go somewhere else, and they'll be doing something else.
Well, hold on one second.
I'm from Northwest Indiana.
Miss Flora, I want Attorney Jones to speak to that, because none of this is regulated nationally. All this stuff, all of these laws are local.
They are very local, and they've been in existence since slavery.
And before.
So if they've been in existence that long, if they've been in existence that long, do you know that people who are living in these local areas, they already know the game, so they're not going to step up anyway. So the federal government has to do something.
Attorney Jones?
I appreciate this.
Oh, no, I appreciate you calling. Where are you in Virginia?
I'm in Chesapeake. Don't tell nobody.
Okay, get out of here. My mama's from Newport News. It's all. I love Virginia.
Yeah, but I've been across all of the various states, and I got family everywhere. So I'm always speaking on things because I know I got family everywhere. I'm from a huge family.
Well, get them. Make sure they're voting. Please make sure they're voting.
Some of them don't want to vote. That's what I know.
Why don't they want to vote?
mean, with their votes, I have some family members who have never voted, and they're almost 50 years old.
Wow. They didn't vote for President Obama?
They didn't even vote for President Obama.
Okay.
Yeah, because if I have family who are affluent, they're doing fine financially.
Well, for now,
African Americans
for now,
fine financially.
For now, I bump into Negroes with money all the time. For now,
But just like Kanye West,
for
they
now,
can take it all from him. Yeah,
for now, you can lose that teacher's job. You can lose all of this. You can lose it all. But let me get Mama D. I'm sending you much love, and you continue to call. I'm so glad that you listen to us down there in Chesapeake. What you saying? Don't tell nobody, girl. Stop it.
Oh, you know where I'm at, girl. Stop.
Well, sneak around and get some more of your friends to listen in. Okay.
Have a good one.
You too. Send him
Love y'all.
Flora from Chesapeake. Don't tell nobody. Flora, don't tell nobody from Chesapeake. Oh my gosh. Let me go. Mama D, what's on your mind today?
Well, hallelujah, greetings to you.
God bless you.
Pastors of Christian churches should be against the violence of abortion, because children are a heritage of God and the fruit of the womb is his reward. Pastor politician Warnock is on the wrong side of spiritual history.
Okay. Okay. Do you think that that's going to push or pull some people to vote, or pull some people away from voting? Will religion be a factor?
I absolutely think so, because there's not enough discussion about that. People are shut down if you don't believe what they are thinking. And that's what I like about you, because you don't do that for the most part. But the point of the matter is, when we talk about a woman, she's not a woman if she is pregnant. She is 3 in 1. Living egg, living sperm, and living what the egg and the sperm put together called living soul. We need to discuss that. Men have a right to save the family, and the woman that is pregnant is a family. And if they can, they're part of this situation, and they are never considered. And black men in particular have an issue with abortion.
Well, would you say that is true, Attorney Darrell Jones? I'm going to, of course, make you every black man right now.
Well, I wouldn't say that black men have a problem with abortion. I think that, one of the things that you have to take into consideration is that everyone's situation is different. Every woman's situation is different with regards to their planning, their pregnancy, how they become pregnant. What about the incidents that you're dealing with? Incest, if you're dealing with rape, do you still want to consult the man? I don't think so. So, I think
so. Let's go there, please. Can we go there? If you're dealing with rape and you're savvy enough to go to a doctor and say, stop this living soul, you are savvy enough to go to the police officer and say, this friend, a relative, or stranger raped me, stop this rapist. The fact of the matter is, men are part of the trinity when a woman is pregnant. She is not a woman. She's not alone. And if they have a right to kill the living soul, the man who represents the family have a right to save the living soul. It is his sperm. It is what the life that he has helped create. If it's not alive, you wouldn't have to kill it.
Well, I think the challenge is this, Mama D. Many women do not report rape because they're treated so disrespectfully in the system. First of all, in many instances, they're not believed. Establishing a rape kit is not an easy thing. And many women will say, look, I've already been violated. I don't want anyone touching me again. It's not as simple as that. And now the morning after pill, more and more people don't have access to that. So there's a lot going on here. And oftentimes you are raped, violated by someone in an intimate situation. So I think it's a little bit more complex. I'm hearing you, but Aaron, why don't you speak to what Mama D is saying? Because, Mama D has a point of view that a lot of people hold, and I respect it. Agree or disagree, I respect it.
Yes. And, we talk about the nuances of this very important issue. And I try and look at it from my own perspective, which is a complicated one, as many women's perspective is. And I want to center women in this conversation because it is still a woman's body that is at greatest risk to her health during pregnancy, right? When we look at the labor and delivery floor, we've made many technological advancements in medicine that keep women alive. Most women, 50% chance you would die in childbirth for a long, long time. It's a risky business bringing life into the world. When that life actually begins, right, is an art and a science, and I don't believe that it begins the moment of conception. I believe that a woman has the right to control her own body because we do not know what is going on. We just don't. Women have complicated medical histories that make them at higher risk. They make pregnancy not viable for them in many instances. Healthy women that have a normal pregnancy can have unbelievable complications that not only threaten their life, but the life of their unborn child. This needs to be a decision with the woman and her physician and no one else. No one else. And my view is complicated because I am pro-choice, but personally, I would not have a procedure to have an abortion, given my medical challenges. My faith, my personal faith, that is my choice to make that. That is not the government's choice to mandate that I would have an abortion or not. We have to leave the choice up to the woman and her physician. There is too much at stake. We are essentially legislating that women should not have autonomy over their bodies and that the government should decide that their life is worthless, essentially. These are very complicated situations, and we cannot take that power and autonomy away from that woman. And I hear what Mama D is saying, but I think our issue needs to focus on, from a policy standpoint, in supporting the life of the mother and her autonomy over her physical body.
Mama D, I've got about 30 seconds. What do you say?
11-year-old can get abortions without contacting their parents. That's the problem. Having an abortion is not a simple procedure either. It is a dangerous operation.
Sure.
And it is danger. It comes with risk, and we should consider that.
Okay, well, you know what? One day we will have that. We will have that conversation here on the Santita Jackson Show, because I think that there are a lot of aspects to this issue, and I think that we've got to talk about it. It's not a one and done. It's not that simple. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show coming up. Pennsylvania State Senator Vincent Hughes. What is going on in Pennsylvania? What's going to happen with John Fetterman? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Is Mama D still there? Ooh.
No, she's gone.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, Matt. Bless your heart. Okay. Okay. Are you all still there? You all can talk to everybody on Facebook. I am trying to do various things at once. So what did you think about what Mama D had to say? I mean, Daryl, I don't like to just talk about men. I like to talk with you all. So, I mean, what do you think about what she said?
Well, I believe that it's ultimately a woman's decision to decide what she's going to do with her body. I think, for me personally, that if the woman wants to include whoever she wants to include in making that decision, I think that's a great thing. If she wants to include the man in the decision, then she should include the man in the decision. But ultimately, it's the woman's body, it's the woman's life that is at play with the delivery of a child and the carrying of a child. So, my simple belief is that, it's ultimately her decision. We're going to have, differences, right? I mean, everyone's coming from a different standpoint, and whether it's a strong religious standpoint or economic standpoint or whatever it may be, or a combination of all of the above, I think all that's taken into consideration. But, to say that you should require the man to be part of the decision, or that you should require the parents to be part of the decision, I think could potentially be very problematic.
There's just so many pieces
Absolutely.
here. There's so many pieces. See, and I have to tell you, my parents, they were so involved in everything. I can't even imagine them not being being part of decision. So I understand when Mama D says this would be a major undertaking for someone 10, 11, or even 16. But I also have come to see that people have a lot of different things going on in their backgrounds. And I want to be very careful not to make every child a ward of the state. And it's just, it's a lot. I'm sorry, Aaron.
Yeah, and I think that the concern, and we see these parental notification laws in states, and we see a chilling effect on the people that need protection the most, right? In these instances, if you're a young woman underage seeking an abortion, there's the potential that there is a sexual assault, some sort of incest situation happening that is very, very delicate, traumatizing, and difficult. These are oftentimes the people that need to be protected by the parental notification laws that allow a young woman to make this choice with her doctor as well. And, we have to protect those people in those scenarios that need the most help and protection. And we see statistically, these are mostly young Black women and Black, brown, Hispanic, Latino communities that are impacted by these essentially forced births, and where these young women don't have autonomy. That's why the state of Illinois enacted the law that took away the parental notification portion. And so when we talk about this, we're not talking about, we have to protect those folks. That's what's at stake here. And while it might seem controversial, I think about what that little girl who is traumatized must be feeling, and the idea that she would have to carry.
Stand by.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am free.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Boy, when you start talking politics, and particularly the midterms 2022, a lot of things come out. So continue to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Let's talk about the issues that are driving the 2022 midterms and these tighter than this races. All one word, tighter than this. WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, is my home base, as is AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Greg Palast and Rick Smith, my brother here at WCPT and AM 950 Radio, they just had a tremendous showing of Vigilante, the new Greg Palast documentary. It is stunning. I bet you didn't know that Georgia was not always a slave state. Indeed, the family that introduced slavery, the enslavement of black people into Georgia, was Brian Kemp's family, his ancestors. You can't make this stuff up. Call us at 773-763-9278 is something that I guess that's why he doesn't want to teach critical race theory, because then you'd know that. 773-763-9278. But let's talk about these races we've been looking at. We've been talking about the Warnock Walker race. We have talked about the Booker race in Kentucky. We've talked about the Mandela Barnes, and we'll be talking about all of these races in greater depth as we go forward. But I have got some callers in. But before I bring in Robert from Ohio, and is it Tabon? I hope that's what it is. If not, correct me when you get on the air. I've got one of my favorite people in the world. Indeed, he is also one of the most powerful men in state politics. He's one of the most powerful figures in all of state politics. In the state of Pennsylvania. Many people wanted to run for mayor of Pennsylvania, but we do need him at the state capitol. Of course, he's in charge of the money. My friend and brother beloved, State Senator Vincent Hughes. But his claim to fame is that he's married to Cheryl Lee Ralph. Yes, that's Cheryl Lee Ralph, who just got the Emmy. The Dream Girls and my girlfriends and I used to go see on many weekends when we were freshmen at Howard University back in the day. How you doing? It's true. It was so exciting. We'd hop on. It was cheap to get on New York Apple Air. Oh my gosh. Or to take the train, and we would go see them and just be enraptured. And to see her staying power 40 years later, she has gone from strength to strength to strength with so much dignity, and with you by her side for the most part. And we just thank God for you. Talk to us about John Fetterman. I mean, how is he doing? And he had a stroke. And it's clear that while he is trying to recover, he's also still running. I don't know how he's done it. He and his wife. I really don't. What's going on? Because, you know, we just saw an
Santita,
interview and he looked like he was struggling a bit, but he was getting through it.
I mean, you're absolutely right, and we need to take that as part of our analysis. First of all, thank you. It is a pleasure talking with you. It's been far too long, and that's my fault, not yours. My name is Senator Vincent Hughes, but if you want to call me Mr. Shirley Ralph, I am cool with that. I ain't got no problem with that.
And she loves being Mrs. Vincent Hughes. That's what I love about both of you.
Yes. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. We are equally yoked. Okay.
Yes.
How about we put it that way? So, you know, I think that is one of the issues that you mentioned, the lieutenant governor's stroke, Fetterman stroke. You mentioned that, and I think it's important because, you know, he could have said, you know what, I got this challenge and I'm not going to pursue this. And he has made the decision to work through his health challenge, to pursue this race for the United States Senate. He is clearly well enough to serve. I think we're all clear on that. He clearly surpasses Dr. Oz with respect to his issue platform. You know, is there any one of us listening to this radio program that has not had a health challenge and has had to face the decision, do I back off my mission or do I try to pursue? And we've all figured out ways to overcome in most cases. He has done that. He is doing that. And, you know, does it change the nature of the campaign? Of course it does. But it doesn't change the fact of some very simple things, Santita, and we need to understand this. He will vote for the John Lewis Act. Oz won't. He will vote to protect a woman controlling her own body. Oz won't. All right? He will vote for trying to get some management and lifting the federal minimum wage. Oz won't do that. He will vote for important housing decisions. He will vote to bring some justice around the continuing issues of modern day redlining. Oz won't. He will do the things that we as people need to have done, and whether he's 100% back, whether he's 90% back or 95% back, I know we can count on him to you know, let's be clear, make it some current recent history. Fetterman would have voted for Ketanji Brown Jackson to be the United States Supreme Court Justice. Oz would not have. All right, and so those are the things that we really, really need to focus on, as opposed to getting distracted. We're dealing with a gun violence crisis here in Philadelphia. The same as you've had to deal with it in Chicago and communities all across the country. And I would say that the largest increase in gun violence in Pennsylvania is in rural Pennsylvania, not in the big cities like Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Harrisburg. But Fetterman would vote for common sense gun laws like background checks and red flags and things like that. Oz won't vote for that stuff. So are we trying to elect personalities, or are we trying to elect policy-driven elected officials who want to focus on the needs of the people? I'm not interested in a personality. I'm interested in somebody who's going to do the right thing as far as the needs of our people are concerned.
And you know what? I think you make the point. We're talking with Pennsylvania State Senator Vincent Hughes. In all seriousness, he's one of the most powerful men in all of state politics all around the country. He's in charge of the money in the state of Pennsylvania. Yes, you have to go through him. And that having been said, I'm so glad that he was able to make space for us today as we look at the Fetterman race, the Fetterman Dr. Mehmet Oz race, because in fact, that is a race that's getting tight. And people are wondering, can Fetterman hold out? I mean, in fact, the votercade, we have attorney Erin Connolly, who comes out of Arizona. She's worked with Kyrsten Sinema. I mean, it's when Kyrsten Sinema was a progressive, and boy, has she shifted 180 degrees. Well, 360, she's just completely turned around. And then, of course, we've got Attorney Darrell Jones, who's going to be with you later on today with Attorney Barbara Arnwine with the votercade coming into Philadelphia. But, you know, and I've got callers too. But, I think State Senator Hughes, everybody's had to play hurt. You know, mean, everybody's gone to work sick and now women don't get maternity leaves. You can still be struggling and you have to get back to work. And you either feel the social pressure to get back to work, the career pressure to get back to work. And no one wants to feel helpless and like I don't matter anymore just because I'm ill. Do you think that this is a teachable moment for us? Because this to me is very different than what we're watching in Georgia. We're watching someone who is recovering, working to get back, and he's pushing anyway. I mean, are people receiving it that way in Pennsylvania?
I think people are starting to see it that way because we're starting to have honest conversations like the one we're having right now, Santita. That, it is, and I said to this campaign early on, I said, don't run away from the fact that the man had the stroke, okay? It's real. It's reality, okay? You can't hide it, all right? He had it. It's done. He's moving forward. He's progressed. I think in major steps, he's able to serve. And quite frankly, when it comes down to what we need him as a people to do, you just talk about family and medical leave and paid sick leave and things like that. He's going to do the right thing as far as those things are concerned. Ours will not. And that, in the end, is what we need people in elected office to be about. Where do you stand in the tough times when it's hard to make significant policy decisions? Where will you be? Will you be on the side of the needs and interests of the people, or will you be somewhere else selling snake oil and magic medical cures, which is what your history has been? And that is where we need to focus our time and attention. And we've confronted the issue about this health challenge. We need to move way past that and talk about what these two individuals are going to be doing for the people of Pennsylvania, and in fact for the nation. Because U.S. senators don't just represent their state; they have national and international footprint that they've got to be responsible for, and they need to be thinking about the issues of everyday people across this nation. We know, based on history, Oz will not do that. We know, based on history, Fetterman will, and that's important.
We're talking with Pennsylvania State Senator Vincent Hughes about what's happening in in Pennsylvania. Before I go to the callers, let me go to you, Attorney Jones. You're going to be in Pennsylvania today with Senator Hughes with Attorney Online. Why don't you respond to what you've heard?
Oh, absolutely. Senator Hughes, other than being one of my heroes out of Pennsylvania, he's 100% on point. And I think that, what folks have to realize and what we're attempting to do with this votercade is that we tried to bring awareness to the communities, awareness, that it's election season, that it's time to get your vote on. But more importantly, awareness that you need to connect and find someone, a candidate that connects with the issues that matter to you and support that candidate, whoever that candidate is. Find that candidate that supports your issues. Find that candidate that knows your community, that knows your state, and then will get up and fight for you in the middle of the U.S. Senate or in the middle of whatever the race is that they're running at. That's a large part of what this is about. And so, hearing Senator Hughes echo that very issue, it is the essence of this votercade. It's the reason why we'll be at Lincoln University at noon today, and then we'll be downtown Philadelphia meeting, rallying, and talking to folks, being certain that they know where they're supposed to vote, when they're supposed to vote, checking their voting status, and just getting them excited and worked up, giving them food and music, just enjoying and celebrating that it's voting season. It's time to get your vote on, Santita.
Absolutely. I mean, Attorney Connolly, before we go to the callers.
Well, it's an honor to be on with Senator Hughes, and my entire family is from the great state of Pennsylvania on the other side, and I had the honor of knocking on some doors in western Pennsylvania and Allegheny County for John Fetterman and the statewide races, and Summer Lee, who's running for Congress in Allegheny County. And what I hear from the voters on the doors, just in my own experience, is people want action. They want someone like John Fetterman who understands what it's like to live in a place like Braddock, Pennsylvania, that is, needs environmental justice, that needs jobs, that needs relief from inflation, and they don't want some celebrity out of state, talking head like Dr. Oz, who doesn't come from there and who doesn't fully understand what Pennsylvania needs. And I think this is all a distraction. I think John Fetterman has done an amazing job. His family has done an amazing job of staying on the campaign trail. They are showing up in county after county in Pennsylvania. They've been, I think, to every county in Pennsylvania where Dr. Oz has not. He is talking with voters. He is out doing the hard work. And as a person I have a disability, I think the people of Pennsylvania that have a disability that they're fighting through see the strength of that and are showing up in big numbers. I'm disappointed in the narrative that the corporate media has in framing this issue. I think it's been irresponsible and ableist, and we have to call that out when we see it. And I'm thankful that you're in Pennsylvania today with the Transformative Justice Coalition to make sure that we're getting out the vote and making sure these people show up at the polls and aren't distracted by this rhetoric.
Indeed, Senator Hughes, and thank you so much, Attorney Connolly. I mean, because I think that we've got some lessons to learn about what Reverend doesn't call people disabled. He says you're differently abled, right? I see him fighting with Parkinson's right now, and he will not yield. He's struggling with it. He has mobility issues, but you know what? He's had to make peace with Parkinson's. That is to say, okay, this is how I fight you. I've got to do my therapy. I've got to do this. And we're seeing tremendous gains in his mobility, tremendous gains, even at 81, in his speech. But I would not want to throw all that he is away because he's been diagnosed with a disease. I think about my brother Jesse, who has bipolar disorder. You want to throw all of that he has away. Pure genius. You want to throw that away because of a disease? You had a stroke. Anybody could have a stroke. People do all the time. And I don't know. I don't know if and I think, State Senator Hughes, I don't think we're giving him enough credit, him and his wife, because his wife is sitting by his side, spotting him as I would see your wife do, as I would see my mother do. No, honey, we're going to get through this. Come on, let's go. What's the...
Santita, he has already, I believe, won the victory of overcoming. Okay, I believe that. Just like all of us, when we've had a differently abled issue, right? You go through it, you get through it, you get knocked down, you get back up, and then you keep charging forward. He's no different than anybody else. He's in many respects, he's won that issue, and so let's, in these last 28, 29 days, let's pursue the communication with the people on the real issues of the moment. Where do these two individuals stand on the issues that everyday people in Pennsylvania and around this country are thinking about, worried about, conscious about? Would I vote to disable the Affordable Care Act? Absolutely. Would Fetterman vote to support it and try to expand it? Absolutely. Where is Oz on issue of trying to provide more services for affordable housing in Pennsylvania and across the country? He's in the wrong place. Where's Fetterman? Absolutely in the right place. Controlling prescription drugs. We already know that Oz is a snake oil salesman. We've already been, I think, charged and convicted in that space. Okay? We know Fetterman would try to put the reins on the high pricing and the price gouging on prescription drugs. So, people want to focus on these other issues. Let's talk about what we need a United States Senator to do and where we need that person to stand on the issues relevant to everyday people. And he's overcome the issue of stroke. We need to move beyond this conversation, because the more we talk about it, the more we fall into the hands of the other folks, okay, distracting people from the real issues today. This election is close. There's no slam dunk. What was once a tremendous double-digit lead has now moved back into the single digits. Republicans are coming home to roost. Fetterman is prepared, and again, Fetterman is prepared to accept the results, win or lose. Oz is not. that makes him fall into that category of election denial. All right? And so here are clear differences. When our democracy is on the line, which we know it is, make the choice that's consistent with your own beliefs and your own interests. Make the choice that makes sense for you as regular people, not just in Pennsylvania, but across this country, because that United States Senator's footprint is national and, in fact, international in scope. Let's focus on those things. And in the end, on those issues that are relevant, Fetterman comes out on top every analysis of every issue.
I love that. I mean, and guess what? He had his stroke. You might have yours. Everybody, let's be careful about what we about what we do to people.
Do you want somebody to cast you aside if you had a health challenge?
Don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it. I mean,
not right.
he could be away just taking care of himself, but he said, "No, I've pledged to the people of Pennsylvania." I respect that. I mean, I'd have a greater appreciation and more respect for Herschel Walker if he would own up to dissociative disorder and all these psychological problems that he has. At least on that score, because a lot of people are struggling with a lot of things. But let me bring a couple of these callers. Let me go to you, Robert in Ohio. Very quickly, Robert, what's on your mind, honey?
Hey, Santina, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to say, Mama D is way off base. She's wrong. And the reason, if you ever read the Bible, it says God only created life when Adam took his first breath. So when is life created? When you take your first breath, okay? It's not inside of the womb. It's not inside else. It's when you take your first breath. And abortion is even in the Bible in Numbers 5:11. So, all these people who are spending all their time talking about this 2,000-year-old book. Now, me personally, I don't put no stroke in it because it's been written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten over again. But that don't mean I don't believe in God. It just means I don't put a lot of stroke in a book, So that's just me. And I just wanted to say that, and just, me as a black man saying that I'm pro-choice, I would want my woman to come to me and say, hey, this is what's going on, and have a conversation. I wouldn't want her to do it by herself. But, and also this thing about an 11-year-old walking into abortion clinic by themselves, come on, that ain't real. Come on, that's a Republican talking point. That ain't real. How many 11-year-olds will walk into a?
I don't know. Because I will say this, Robert. A lot of our children are not properly cared for. I think we have to acknowledge that. A lot of them. A lot of them. A lot of our children are not properly parented. I mean, because first of all, how does an 11-year-old get in a position where someone close to their family impregnates them? There's a lot going on there. So I think what we've got to do, there's a lot going on there. And so what we have to do is really extend the conversation, because I don't want you just to have a sound bite, but I'm going to go to the next caller. But would you call back to us? Where are you in Ohio?
Toledo.
All right. Well, keep listening and tell people about us. Okay, sweetie?
I will. You have a good one.
Sending you much love. Let me go. Is it Taban from California?
Yes, this is Taban. Good morning, Santita.
Good morning. Where are you in California, Taban?
San Jose.
San Jose. I've got 1 minute for you, but if you stay with me just after, we can talk on YouTube, but I want you to make your comment, and then you and I can engage in a couple more minutes.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. You got 1 minute. Go.
I'm calling about the ongoing women-led uprising in Iran. The Islamic Republic government of Iran is a theocracy. Iranian people want freedom from religious tyranny and 40 years of repression, corruption, inflation, and economic hardship. They want elections like we're having them here, and you're discussing that this morning. The government also has sexist laws, and on September 16, 2022, a 22-year-old girl, Masa Amini, was arrested by the morality police for not wearing her hijab headscarf tight enough. She died in police custody. Masa's death triggered an uprising calling an end to 40 years of oppression and human rights violations in Iran. I'm calling to ask your listeners to help the Iranian people by calling their elected officials and representatives. Tell them to oppose any negotiations while the Islamic Republic regime is in power. Tell them to help the Iranian people for a change. And Santita, I have a voice message from a young woman who went to a demonstration in Iran 2 days ago and was beaten by the police. Thankfully, she managed to escape the scene, and she made a tape, an emotional appeal to people all over the world for their help. And the tape is for free, but I have an edited version, just a 10-second. I'd like to play it because
if you could do that,
shows her emotions and what's going on there. May I do that?
We will do it on the other side of the break, okay? But I want to give State Senator Vincent Hughes, before I lose him, because he's got a lot going on today. The final minute belongs to you, State Senator Hughes.
Well, thank you, Santita, and all your listeners and the two guests there. I'll be looking for you at some point today, doing this great work. I just want to make sure that people think about and don't get caught up, whether it be in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Ohio, wherever we might be. Don't get caught up in the diversionary tactics that are used to distract people from the significant issues of the moment. Who's going to be with you on the important issues of your time? If we need common sense gun laws, who's going to be there? In Pennsylvania, we know it'll be Fetterman. It won't be us, okay? Who's going to be there on expanding universal health coverage? Who's going to be there in terms of making sure our children get access to the high-quality 21st education that they deserve to have? Who's going to be there in the important issues of your life? There are clear differences. Don't get caught up in the okie doke and follow your personal interest. In Pennsylvania, it's very clear on this issue. It's a Fetterman decision because he stands in the right place. But think about it from your entire perspective, wherever you may be across this country. Santita, love you. I'm going to call Rev like you asked me to do. Okay? Got to roll. All right?
I love State Senator. That's right. State Senator Mr. Cheryl Lee Ralph. Oh, I'm sorry. State Senator Vincent. That is her husband now. Everybody, it's been a joy being with you today. Sending you much love. Attorney Daryl Jones and Attorney Aaron Connolly. Daryl Jones will be in Philadelphia today. Thank you, Matt Cummings, for stepping in. Madam Board Operator, get well soon. Love you, everybody. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and the Santita Jackson and Friends page. We're going to continue this conversation. Back tomorrow and staying with you right now today. Love you. Aaron, you want to is Miss Taban still there? Ooh. Boy, oh boy, we've had a whole lot of people who have a whole lot to say today, and I am glad about that. I'm wondering, I'm so glad that he was able to talk to us, State Senator Hughes, about John Fetterman. Because, I've been feeling some kind of way about his candidacy, because I see him struggling. And we can't act like we don't have a raggedy day in life. We can't act like we don't have days in which we're not struggling too. And maybe our reluctance to deal with him is because we're projecting onto him our pain. Haven't you noticed we don't elect more and more we elect politicians who had to have plastic surgery. They look well. They look fit. They're everything that we want to be that we might not even be trying to become. Think about that. In life, you can get sick. In life, you will get knocked down. But my father often says the ground is no place for a champion. Are you going to get up off the mat? Are people going to help you get up off the mat? Are people going to stand behind you and hold you up while you're wobbly until you can get your footing? In life, that happens. Just because, and I do not wish this on Dr. Oz or anyone, but just because he's healthy today doesn't mean that he will be completely healthy tomorrow. You have someone who was struck by a stroke, had to stay off the grid for a minute, but he came back. He's coming back. I respect that. What about you? Let me know. Let me know. I respect that. Because in life, as my pastor's wife, Mrs. Luther May Evans said, you know where you've been, but you don't know where you're going. You know where you've been. You don't know where you're going. You don't know. You have no idea. None. And I compare and contrast him with Herschel Walker, who was a football player for much of his life. We have football players who filed class action lawsuits against the NFL because of head injuries. In addition to having a chemical issue, he is mentally ill. He also has that. Herschel Walker does. When I look at him, I look at someone who's got a lot of things going on with him. A lot of things. The sad thing is he's not copped to any of it. And who knows how much of it he may remember. I don't know. But it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. That to me is very different than someone who knows he is struggling and he's fighting to come back. I got to respect that. And then, you have to play power politics. You don't need to go rogue, but you need to play power politics. You need to elect someone, even if he is voting from his hospital bed, who's going to vote for you. That's what you need to do. Think about that. Aaron or Daryl, are you still there? If not, I'm going to get off this soapbox today.
I'm still here.
You know what I'm saying, Aaron? Here. I mean, because Aaron, sickness can come upon you, girl. I mean,
I woke up one day and realized that I had lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks. I was in diabetic ketoacidosis. If I hadn't gone to the Mayo Clinic, I might not be here. That was 2016. I am still alive. But that disability snuck up on me. It can happen to all of us.
Girl, get some water. That was just a cough, everybody. But even that happens. I mean, you blink your eyes and your life can completely change. Do we throw people away because they are struggling with their health? Because they're struggling in their personal life because they've made mistakes? I mean, is that what we do? I mean, and we do a lot of that. Everybody wants, someone who looks perfect. The people who project more perfection are the biggest or the most flawed people you know. I don't have a problem with that, but I wish they would stop acting like they don't have problems. As if they don't have trouble in their marriages, as if they've not had affairs, as if they're not gay, straight, blah, blah, all of that. People are all these things. Stop it. Let them be who they are. Stop making being homosexual a blackmailable offense. I say that to my gay friends all the time. I'm like, you know what? Stop. Because on the day that why is it that once someone sleeps with someone, it's all over the newswire? Y'all need to stop that. And I've said that. Stop it. Because that's a personal thing. Stop it. You stop participating in this foolishness and folly that makes being gay a blackmailable offense. It ought not be a blackmailable offense. It just is. You're just gay. That's all. Next. You're having trouble in your marriage. You've had an affair. So what? No one really cares. At the end of the day, folks have their own stuff. At least you ought to have your own stuff that you're trying to take care of. Enough. I want a legislator to legislate, Aaron. That's all I want. That's all I want him or her to do. Your personal life, unless you are hurting someone, if you're hurting someone, well, then I got a problem with you. That disqualifies you. You mess with children. You beat up your wife. You beat up your husband. That's disqualifying for me. But beyond everything else, that's your business. Because I don't know what makes you you. I don't know all the elements that are in your life. I don't know. And you don't either, by the way. You have no idea what makes someone who they are and what comprises someone's life. You have no idea. So let's just stop it. Let's stop playing these games. And the Republicans need to stop it, because if you're going to give Herschel Walker all this space, and you need to give other people space. And now they've got all these jokes, Aaron, about Herschel Walker being the father of the nation. I'm like, but they didn't do that about Thomas Jefferson and all these other slave masters who have people looking like me down the line. Yeah, I said it. I mean, really? I remember when the book by Barbara Chase Reboul came out about Sally Hemings, this was more than 40 years ago, and they excerpted it in Ebony magazine. Oh, I couldn't wait to get the books. It was like, it was like incredible. And of course, she published it out of France, a Black woman, because she couldn't publish it initially out of the United States. And what was so amazing was the reaction in the 70s to the assertion that Thomas Jefferson had children by his wife's half-sister. That this man whose wife died when he was 39, who died at 83, who never remarried, who was known to be tall, good looking, all of that. And you mean to tell me no woman could wear him down? No, because he was already living with his wife's sister. And yet, great statesman, all of that, and full of contradictions. And that is the way human beings are made, Aaron. We're all a lot of things. Let it go. We're all a lot of things. A lot of things. I'm going to disappoint you. You're going to disappoint me. And I don't think you can really disappoint me. I'll just say, oh, okay, well, you got that going on next. I am over it. And you need to be over it too. All this, I mean, really. I'm interested, Aaron, in public morality. To me, it is a sin that we have poverty anywhere in the world, especially here in the wealthiest country in the world. I think it is sinful that they are spraying carcinogenic chemicals on our food here in Iowa and Illinois. And then when people have cancer, they go, oh my goodness, where did it come from? You know where it came from. You put it in my food. I think it is sinful, not just for Putin, but for us in the United States to be talking about nuclear war so casually. Wait a minute. We're the ones who dropped the atom bombs, 2 of them on Japan. 2. I mean, we have no moral authority to say anything. Just shut up. Just study war no more. Just stop it. Just stop. I hope John Fetterman wins, and I hope he shows you and I hope he takes us into therapy with him. Just say, hey, you know what? It's a struggle, but I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to keep on, and I'm working for you. And you need to understand that. And you know what? Then maybe he'll be your advocate, the best advocate you can get for paid sick leave. We are still on the verge of a railroad strike. That's 1/3 of our goods in the United States, everybody. That could come to a screeching halt. Because one of the major unions said, I do not like the deal that was crafted by the Biden administration. It doesn't go far enough. Can you believe our rail workers did not have paid sick leave? For example, these people are making more money than they've ever made before. That is to say, the people who own the railroad companies. But they wouldn't give their workers paid sick leave. Who does that? You ought to be outraged about that, as opposed to who's sleeping with whom. That is none of your business. You don't want anyone in your bedroom or wherever you do whatever it is that you do. It doesn't have anything to do with you anyway. I've been on my soapbox, Aaron. What's on your mind?
Well, I think it's wonderful that you're speaking on your show about this race with John Fetterman and the ableist reaction we're seeing, right? There's over almost 30 million Americans have some sort of disability. And it's so frustrating to have these conversations where we're essentially writing off, like you said, all of these brilliant, capable folks who are differently abled, disabled, differently abled, whatever you're comfortable with. As you can call yourself whatever you want, but we cannot live in a universe where we're pretending like that doesn't exist. And I understand that. For many years, I would hide my disability. Mine is type 1 diabetes. I'm dyslexic. I have ADHD. There's a few different things that I would hide because in my profession, that was seen as a weakness, right? And you're afraid to let people see you like that. And I experienced that guilt and shame about it. I would turn my alarms off on my Dexcom in meetings because I didn't want people to ask me what that loud noise was. And I ended up in crisis situations because of that, right? Because I wasn't being honest about where I'm at. Now that I'm being honest about it, I'm healthier. I'm more productive, I have better energy, and I can show up to do this work in a better way.
And wait
but
a minute.
Our society does not allow that in many ways.
Haven't you
And
noticed
we've
that
seen
since you're
play out.
honest? It just came to me, girl. I'm getting older. I have to say things what pops in my mind because I'm honest about that too. People help you when they see, whoa, oh, that's an issue for you. And you're like, yeah, I mean, they will help you. I remember when I first had weight loss surgery, Aaron, I would, particularly the first week, well, I had to be in the hospital for a week and I had to stay out in San Francisco for a month. So I would go out and, I could eat out, but I was very extremely careful because I still have surgery. I still have these, I still have bandages and all this stuff, that no one could see. But I would explain, as we were trying to go through the menu, I've got to have this. Unfortunately, we were in San Francisco, so I could eat shellfish, seafood, which I love. But it needed to be prepared a particular way. And when people would hear, oh, you just had surgery, oh, you just had that? Oh. More than once, the chef came out. What do you need me to do? More than once. Because when people see you struggling and they see you trying to make it, they'll help you. Oh my gosh. There is grace in there, everybody, for you. Dyslexia, diabetes, all that. Wait, girl, wait. You can people. Ennis Cosby, Dr. Bill and Dr. Camille Cosby's son, was getting his master's at Columbia University when he was murdered. Ennis was dyslexic. And when his parents really found out the nature of where his struggles academically were coming from, they got him the help. And Ennis said, you know what, I want to be a teacher. That's what he was going to be. And his parents said, okay, you want to be a teacher? And you're going to specialize in helping young people these kids who are struggling, who have learning disabilities. We're going to help you. We're going to finance a school for you to do this. Because we know poor Black and brown kids don't get any help. That's what he was about to do when that man murdered him in California. Don't ever forget that about Ennis Cosby. That's the kind of guy, that's the kind of man that Bill and Camille Cosby raised. That's where they were going to invest his inheritance, in a school for kids who are differently able, for kids with learning disabilities. Okay? Think about that. So, there's no testimony. My father would be a very different guy if he'd grown up with all this privilege. He was an outside child. He was outside. Nobody wanted him. Nobody. His father rejected him. His birth father rejected him because he had a marriage he was going to save. I get it. But the more famous my father became, when he became a great student, the more he was celebrated by the outside world, the more his father wanted to claim him. And that's real. So if my father has some issues behind that, yeah, he does. But he's so loving because he just wants you to embrace him. I see that. I'm like, I see you. Being almost 400 pounds, Aaron, shaped me in ways that I cannot even imagine. So when I see people who are overlooked and who are rejected, I know what that's like. When people are dismissed, I get it. And I'm glad God let me have the experience. I was supposed to have it so I could use it here and in other areas of my life. You need it all.
You need it all. You need it all. And one of the things that I love of the teachings of Dr. Brene Brown, she's one of my favorites, but we experience these challenges, this suffering, right? We experience sometimes anguish that comes from that. So we can sit with others and say, I got through it too. I see you, I feel you, and I'm here with you.
That's right.
Right? And that's the greatest gift. We can truly give our grace to others in that space. And I'm so thankful for you sharing all of this, Santita.
Oh, I'm writing about it because, people ask me, and then because people have known me on my journey. So people who haven't seen me in 20, 30 years, 40 years, they're like, whoo. I went to get a mani-pedi. And I had just lost weight. This was in 2006. This was 2 years after I'd had surgery. So I had just lost weight. And then I put some back on, not a lot, but enough. And as you all can see now, I've lost about 40 pounds. And I feel great. And I'm standing, this gentleman, he was, checking me out of the salon, and he was really, really nice. And that somehow or another, Reverend Jackson came up, and he was like, I recognize your name. You're Jackson. Okay, yeah, but we're talking, having a good time. Just, paying my bill. And he said, oh, yeah, I knew your sister. I said, no, I don't think so, because my sister was out of the country at the time. He said, no, I know. He said, but she's a little, he kind of gestured that she was a little. I said, that's me. He said, no, she's a little, like big, fat. She's a little, he didn't say that. He just said, she's a little, he just put his hands out, and he kept putting his hands all the way out there. I said, sir, I'm that sister. It's me.
Wow.
It's me. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. And he was very embarrassed, and I just touched him on his arm. I said, and I gave him a hug. I said, don't be embarrassed. I said, that girl carried me on her back.
Mm.
Every time someone called and said they were going to blow my father's brains out, and that happened almost every day. Every night I let the security in the house, the armed security, and that was every day. Food was a friend for me. And I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I've never been promiscuous. My family never would have tolerated that. And I didn't want that for myself. So I'm not mad at anybody who seeks refuge in many of these spaces. I got you. I just know overeating almost killed me, and eating at the wrong time, because I was dieting. I was doing everything I could to get this weight off, and I was a faithful dieter. That having been said, by the time I had surgery, I needed it, because I was in the hospital with congestive heart failure, and they said when I was on the operating table that I didn't have it, Aaron. I had all of the signs. Wow. I had all the signs of congestive heart failure. The edema had gone up to my knee, and it was rising. Started at my foot, went to my ankle, went up to my knee. I was in bad shape. But I thank God for that experience. All those experiences. Not wanting to go to the doctor because I didn't want to get on the scale. I get it. Glad I've had every experience. I'm glad we've been in the Inquirer. I'm glad about it. Oh yeah, we've been there. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Tallahassee, Florida, Reverend's about to lead a march on Tallahassee. You pull out the fact that he's had a child out of wedlock. Okay. Well, now 20 years later and 1 million dead Iraqis later, his daughter has graduated from college. She's doing well in her life. And we've had a stolen election, 1, 2, several of them. And all kinds of things that have been destructive to the Republic. And y'all made Reverend Jackson's personal business and Mrs. Jackson's personal business a story for a year. Really? Come on.
Distraction.
Just stop. As if so many people came up to me and said, I got an extra brother, sister, whatever. And don't get to a funeral because you see that. Just stop, y'all. Stop. And because occasionally I'll get people floating in some little messages from me. I'm like, wish, my sister Jackie, what about your other sister? You know what? Really? Do you really want to go there? Why? Why do you, do you really think, because what you're trying to do is hurt my feelings. Why would you do that? Are you that broken? We do that all the time. Check yourself before you really wreck yourself, because we're all going to be fine. You can't hurt me without hurting yourself. So let's get over it, everybody. Just stop it. Let's deal with the real issues that are important. And Aaron, talk about diabetes, talk about being dyslexic, talk about all of it. You're going to help somebody because people see you getting up in the morning, and some mornings when Aaron is not here, it's because she's been ill. She's had a crisis. And then she'll send me a note, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I had one on Sunday. I almost died in a chicken restaurant. And, you know, by the grace of God, I had a woman who knew what to do because her sister was type 1. I had a doctor there that was helpful. I didn't have to go to the hospital. I didn't have to have an ambulance. I was able to recover in that space. But that's the reality, right? And I was out of commission for 2 days. And it's embarrassing at the time, but I'm grateful.
But why is it embarrassing?
But
why is it embarrassing?
Well, I think when it happens in a public way like that, it's such a loss of control. And when I'm with my son and I'm trying to keep him calm, and, you know, I have all of this technology now and I'm taking excellent care of myself. So there's a natural sense of like, oh, I should have known, I should have done better. And what I'm starting to have is more grace more quickly in those moments. It doesn't happen as often. I don't go into a crisis, but the reality is I have a terminal illness. I should not be alive right now. By the grace of God, we have insulin, and my terminal illness was turned into a chronic one.
Oh, but no, because you should be alive right now. Wait a minute, because that's you're testing your testimony. No, don't talk about what God can't do. You're supposed to be alive right now, and you're supposed to tell the story.
Yes. But the reality is, I when something like that happens, I have to give myself space to recover, to acknowledge that, you know, I was very lucky in that moment to have that doctor there that was able to administer enough sugar where I didn't go into a seizure, where I didn't have, but I was close. It was the lowest blood sugar I've ever had in my whole life.
How did that happen?
And
what happened?
I had a really active weekend, and I was walking around at the festivals with my family, and sometimes this disease is unpredictable, and I saw my blood sugar dropping. I had my snacks ready. I always have snacks on me just in case, and I had double the number of snacks that usually would have stopped it, and it kept going down just for no reason. Maybe because I walked a few more miles that morning than I usually had. Maybe because I'm working out so much more and taking charge of my health. We don't know sometimes. It just happens. And I was lucky to be able to have the technology that many diabetics in this country still don't have access to, with a continuous glucose monitor that shows that trend. And I said, oh my gosh, this isn't stopping. I need help. And I was able to get it, right? Not everybody has that technology. It should be free. The cost benefit of people not having that technology is far outweighs, you know, the cost of providing that to people. So that's something that I'm passionate about advocating for. And even still, with this support, I you know, once in a while you still go into crisis, and you know, God provides angels to you. You know, the odds of me walking into the restaurant where the owner knows what to do in a diabetic emergency, that's very slim.
Well, you know,
I was lucky enough to have that help.
It's just God, girl. Wait, D. Ray wanted to let you know that you are an intelligent lawyer and you speak so sharp. She said, Sam, tell her that if you see this. Just had to let you know some people are pulling for you, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
D. Ray, yes, I was once almost 400 pounds. I'm not kidding. I'm writing about it. Absolutely. And I thank God for every moment, because that girl carried me on her back when I was not courageous enough, or whatever it was. I'm still working through that. When I couldn't come out, she was carrying me. And she was moving and grooving and doing her thing. And I thank God for that. I thank God for that. So yes, you don't know where people have been either. A lot of people don't tell you because they just feel that, like you said, the sense of shame. And I mean, and get over it. I mean, you are not doing anything, and you've not been through anything that no one else has been through. You've not been anywhere that somebody has not been. There's nothing unique under the sun, not a thing. So just get over it. When I think about Mayor Marion Barry, the only person Marion Barry hurt was himself. That's the only person. He's the only person he hurt was himself. We knew something was wrong with my brother Jesse because he had never missed a vote. He missed one vote in almost 20 years of Congress. We knew something was wrong. He almost fell out several times. And several people, highly placed, were telling him that he needed to do the right thing. These people were trying to put him in jail forever. The only thing they wanted him to do was get out of Congress. I told you, every arrest, every investigation, every indictment, every imprisonment is a political act. Because now you don't see him, so they don't discuss him. And they never wanted any money back. And all the money that you raise, Aaron, all the money you raise as an elected official, once you finish serving office, you can keep it for yourself. That becomes part of your kitty. Come on, y'all. I want you to start looking through all of this. That's why I said, even with President Trump, whose politics I do not agree with at all, yeah, I'm still going to question the FBI, always. Because the only people they investigate are people like me and you, Aaron. Lefties. And populists. Now, is that something you need to do for yourself? Wait a minute, I want to make sure. If you need to go on a step and do something, you better run and do it. I'm serious.
Well, that's not me, but I do have to get the little man to school.
Well, I'm gonna let you go, but everybody, but Aaron, D-Ray said that you are, but Aaron, you are a hero and a fantastic lawyer. She hopes to meet you someday. We're gonna do something for Christmas, D-Ray. We're gonna get together and have a little dinner, but I gotta work it out because y'all gonna have to pay for it. We're gonna have, like we had the
I see what you mean.
we're gonna do that, okay? So I love you, Aaron. Everyone's sending you love today. D-Ray and Lorraine, L. Stanley. Everybody's sending you much love. Laura Bell. Oh my gosh, John. I just have to let you know you're surrounded by love today. Okay.
Thank you.
Robert.
Thank you, everyone.
Miss Robinson, everybody is telling you to keep on going and that they love you. Okay?
Well, I love all of them. I hope we get to see the Morning Stars in person. And thank you for this really thoughtful and important conversation, Santita.
Good girl, I love you. It wouldn't work without you. Of course, she didn't know she was going to be on this morning. I said, call her during the break.
I'm always here for you.
For the audience, because they want to hear you. So I love you. And Matt, thank you for making this happen today. Thank you. So I'm sending everybody much love. See you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Bye-bye.